After a raging hard-on and success that is Deadpool and Wolverine, I got the urge to go back and watch Logan, but then in a cruel twist of fate, I decided against that and instead opted to go for the heavily criticized X-Men Origins Wolverine. There's a lot of disdain surrounding this film, to the point where if I hear about it, I'm like, ugh, that film. But last time I watched it was probably when I was around 12, so I don't even remember having a strong opinion on it one way or the other. I just think that's how I've been told to feel about it. So for the first time in 15 years, I'm going to watch this movie again and go through the things that I do and don't like about it. Just stick around. Let's start from around about here, the beginning. It's a great opening. It's haunting, it's eerie, and it's a good introduction to the brothers' dynamic. There is one small nitpick I have here.
He wasn't your father, son.
I don't know why it annoys me, but it's almost like they're treating the audience like we're a bunch of dodos. They really didn't have to include the son. I think we could gather that he is the father. The opening to this movie is as big and strong as the opening to my mouth when someone says, "Here comes the airplane." That was a great intro, then goes on to a brilliantly shot opening credit sequence. Here we get to see the brutal pairing of a not yet Wolverine and Sabretooth being a part of so many different wars. So much war. The juxtaposition between the mutton chop duo is on display here as Victor quickly descends into a bloodthirsty killer, whilst Logan continues to have more of a guilty conscience, which is a quality you would like to see in a man who could punch 3 holes into you. At the end of this sequence, the brothers are captured for killing that fucking intro, but also for killing a senior officer.
Carried out by a firing squad at 1000 hours. It tickled.
Which sounds like a good time to me. Stryker strikes up a conversation about the two possibly joining his team of mutants, which leads to another brilliant scene. In a plane on the way to a dehumanizing mission, Ryan Reynolds' first Wade Wilson appearance is shown, and it actually does work as an introduction to the character. It sets a nice basis for what could be seen from Ryan as a Deadpool in the future.
Fred got a new tattoo. I'm concerned.
Oh, Jesus, Fred, you just made it last night.
He is maybe slightly a bit too toned down and a bit more reserved, especially for Deadpool, but the quips and the jokes are there. It results in a fun scene, but ultimately the team disband after Logan's the first to quit so he can find his true calling and becoming a hunky lumberjack living with his girlfriend the Grey Fox. I'm just going to save some time for us and say for the most part all the actors do their roles justice in this movie. I do need to mention a story that Kayla aka Silver Fox tells Logan.
Why is the moon so lonely? Because she used to have a lover. But one of the other spirits was jealous. Trickster wanted the moon for himself. So he told Kikuatsu that the moon had asked for flowers. He told him to come to our world and pick her some wild roses. Kikuatsu didn't know that once you leave the spirit world, you can never go back. You can never touch her again.
Kuku-Kachu got screwed.
Kue-Kuatsu means the Wolverine.
It's supposed to be a metaphor for their lives or some shit, and this part did get a slight chuckle out of me.
Kuku-Kachu got screwed.
But it's foreshadowing Logan getting screwed like Kuyatsu. I mean, you don't need to be a genius to work that one out, but just keep that in mind, okay? This lifestyle doesn't last forever though, since Saber couldn't leave the past alone and is going around killing all the members of the past team. The only one we actually get to see is Chris because he asked one too many people if they will wear wigs.
Sick reference though, bro.
Oh, thanks, bud.
Dude, your references are out of control. Everyone knows that.
And I'm not gonna lie, I do really like this scene. I like the build up to the bit where we see Victor at the doorway. I personally would not like to find out that this is the dude that's coming after me. However, I think it might have been better if it was left a mystery. We don't see who's killing them off. The only information we'd be given is when Stryker turns up with a newspaper saying, oh Logan, I'm so scared that we're all going to die." I really don't think the scene is that impactful when we already know who's behind it, and by the way, the plot twist that we see later on isn't that hard to guess from this point. I think the movie was probably written from a standpoint that since people already know the characters, there can't be any surprises. And whilst that probably is true, feeding us all the information as soon as you can just leaves a bad taste in our mouths and makes us feel bloated pretty early on. So Stryker doesn't draw Logan in, he likes his new life too much. That is until it looks like Sabretooth scratched Silver Fox a little too hard, so she ended up with a serious case of the deads. Logan is now convinced he wants to be the Cain to Victor's Abel. I think the way the scene unravels is really nicely done. The action in this film is pretty damn good in general. That said though, I do think that a movie about a dude who has giant shavers coming out of his hands should not be restricted to a PG or 12+ age rating. This fight right here is probably one of my favorites in the movie. Now we can't talk about this film without bringing up the transformation scene. When audiences saw this scene for the first time, Hugh Jackman wasn't the only one soaking down under. The ladies know what I'm talking about, eh? This scene is reminiscent of the Green Goblin's transformation in the first Spider-Man movie, except a lot more painful looking. Seeing him get poked by all that shit still makes me cringe to this day. There's just something about experiments killing off its subject only for them to burst out and wreak havoc that is just always fun to watch. And we go from that iconic scene straight into another great scene. Holy shit, maybe this movie is actually really good. Now the barn scene isn't just a good scene. Honestly, one of my favorite scenes. A close-up of the shiny new blades would be cool if they didn't look like they were made from Hasbro. How are you gonna kill anyone with those damn pieces of plastic? The only thing these are killing are our dreams and hopes. And our eyes, maybe. It's not just those, a lot of the CGI in this movie is bad, even for 2009 standards. I love this old couple, they're so helpful and understanding, and I really hope nothing happens to them. The only thing that can help me feel better now is some classic action cheese. This sequence is pure art. It's art in its finest form. It's obviously cheesy as hell, but as my old Gallic teacher would say, it's good cheese. The movie Logan also has a very similar scene, which is also one of my favorite scenes in that movie. There's something about innocent, good-hearted people getting caught up in a crossfire which just tugs on your heartstrings. It would have been even better if we got to spend a bit more time with them. Maybe a part where they play spin the bottle or something. The whole build-up to when old Nancy Sherbet here spills breakfast is a beautiful shot. And I know it's been on the floor for a while, and it's been toasted twice. But is anyone going to eat that toast? The scene with Wraith and Fred is quite a big tonal shift. Will.i.am's acting honestly surprised me. Okay, that's some burnt toast. Speaking of acting, okay, I'm about to say something that might be a little controversial. You might not like what you hear. Hugh Jackman is a really good Wolverine. Put those pitchforks away, it's just my opinion. I don't mean to glaze his donut hole here because it's such a small thing. Not his donut hole, but what happens. But to make this line...
Hey, Fat, Fred,
actually sound like a genuine mistake without making it sound too forced, it's something that I feel like a lot of even comedy actors would trip up on. Basically, what I'm trying to say is because of that line, this movie is a 10 out of 10. The tonal shift I mean though is like so far the movie has been kind of a dark one in one sense, but it seems like this scene is trying too hard to be funny in a kids movie kind of way. Oh ha ha ha, he's fighting a large fat man, look at his belly, look at him drinking his shake whilst training. Oops, he's mistaken his famous catchphrase of Bub as Blob.
come on, bub, for old time's sake, huh?
Did you just call me Blob?
At the same time though, it is actually quite funny. I especially liked the line about his tattoo.
Dukes? That looks like the creature that ate Fred Dukes. Seem to remember that girl when she was about 85 pounds, huh?
It might be a little too heavy-handed on the obvious fat jokes. It is an important scene though because Blob tells Wolverine the obvious plot twist that Victor and Stryker are working together to make a super duper mutant and betray the... They used killing Silver Fox as bait for Wolverine to use him as a guinea pig to see if the adamantium test would work. See, I wouldn't blame anyone for not liking this scene, but personally, I never mind a little bit of comic relief. Like, you know, the Deadpool movies, for instance. They could lighten up every once in a while. Sheesh. Also, just a quick note, the Blob actually looks really good. It was done with practical effects and makeup, and it looks really good. Victor hunting down Cyclops goes from horrific looking visuals to an amazing looking shot. Oh, hello Gambit. I don't think this Gambit is terrible. He gets the job done. I do personally feel like the new one is more entertaining, and it doesn't help that this one clearly just got done tipping his fedora to his Discord kittens. Maybe he's just about to start animating Metal Gear Awesome. Now I would say from here is where we see a massive decline in the movie's writing. This part leads to one of the worst shots in the movie. Like, it's a cool idea, but so poorly executed. It doesn't even look like the shots are lining up together. Has anyone ever seen Robin Hood Men in Tights? The scene where Blinken is attacking the wooden pillar. It's the same scene. The rest of the movie takes place on an island. and I'm sorry, but a good chunk of this part is just bad. Finding out Silver Fox is alive isn't at all surprising, and the movie not trusting us to work out that the story she told from earlier directly correlates with them feels like an insult to the audience.
The story you told me, I had it backwards. I thought you were the moon and I was your Wolverine. But you're the trickster, aren't you?
Logan's dialogue explaining it is just a little bit too on the nose. Please give us just a little bit of credit like I'm trying to give you here. Obviously at this point Wolverine is pissed. Oh, he's never getting over it. He is absolutely pissed. Silver Fox, this is the last time you're seeing Logan. Oh, never mind, she screamed and his good guy's instincts is kicking in. He helps her to release all the mutants of the island, which leads to one of the biggest sins in cinema history. Oh, oops. That's from wrong clip, unfortunately. Now, I feel like a broken record here, but it's not a terrible idea. In fact, I really like the idea of one mutant having the abilities of many other mutants. It makes for a really terrifying premise, but it's not as terrifying as seeing one of the worst designs in cinema history. The permanent markered, and let's be real, probably castrated Deadpool is a real stinker. Taking away his mouth feels like a big fuck you. I'm not going to stand here and pretend that I'm a big comic fan. In fact, when I first watched the movie as a 13-year-old back in 2009, I didn't even know what a Deadpool was. But my heart goes out to all the people who were excited to see him on the big screen for the first time, and then they get this. So whilst this Wade can suck my... Oh wait, no, he can't do anything of the sort anymore. The light at the end of the tunnel is that 15 years later, we wouldn't have gotten Deadpool and Wolverine, so still worth it in the end. The fight is pretty underwhelming. There are some good shots like this, but every time I look at Deadpool's head, I just want to laugh or maybe cry. It just feels like something more was supposed to happen here. It felt very rushed. However, the laser shot is fucking sick. You can tell at this point the movie is really running out of steam, and I think the audience is too. I personally just wanted it to be over, and luckily it is about to be. Not before the movie turns into Call of Duty, and Logan gets amnesia because he's shot with adamantium bullets. So that means he doesn't remember the old couple. Justice for whatever their names are. We see the worst fucking green screen I've ever seen. The whole island sequence just feels incredibly rushed, so that's pretty much it. I would actually give this movie about a 7. It could have been an 8 if the latter part of the movie didn't see a massive drop in quality. I haven't seen such a massive drop like that since my balls. I turned like 24 years old and you don't want to hear about it. Unless you do. Yeah, I'll tell you another time. This movie was being made during the writer's strike, which explains a lot, but at the same time, I feel like a 14-year-old could have written something better than this. Anyway, that's it. It's one of those movies where if you're insanely bored and are looking for a Wolverine/superhero fix, it'll do. That is if you don't expect anything too amazing to come from it. I don't think it's as bad as people say it is at face value, but yeah, if you dig a little bit deeper, it is pretty meh. No, please God, no!